Hi everybody, welcome back to my YouTube. It's been a while, I do apologize. It's been a hot minute. So with that being said, we're going to be covering the Phasmophobia update. I'm sorry I'm a transparent little otter, but I thought this would be convenient for us to be able to cover everything and then some. I'll be covering the patch notes for the update that is dropping tomorrow for the public. Let's have a look what the devs have in store for us. All right, so the update is called EVENTIDE. It is a major update coming to Phasmophobia tomorrow for the public, and we got the patch notes a little bit earlier as Kinetic Games partners, so let's have a look and get you guys all excited for tomorrow. EVENTIDE major update version 0.10.00. Are you brave enough to become the new lighthouse keeper? Welcome back, we've got an update for you. Due to the size of this update, we have given it the version number of 0.10. Even though the roadmap originally planned different content for that version number, the following updates planned in the roadmap will instead have increased version numbers, but the content and order of the updates remain the same. Something to keep in mind if you are doing a comparison to the roadmap. Point Hope. This is something that was hinted at us quite a while ago. If you've done the little puzzle in the lobby that gave you the symbols, I do have a video on that as well. It's spelled out Point Hope. And this was a clue to our next new map. Point Hope was recently refurbished by a young family seeking something unique to call home. You'll be welcomed by a modern extension, complete with a hallway, closets, and a downstairs bathroom, before entering into the lighthouse's main living room. Decorated with nautical knickknacks, you'll be faced with a spiral staircase and round rooms, a first for ghost hunters. This new location features 10 floors, 12 rooms, and a unique layout which will challenge players in new ways. You'll have to use different techniques for some of those pesky ghost abilities while playing on lower evidence game modes. This is very interesting. I'm sure with the size of what this map is predicted to be, it will probably be noted as a large map. 12 rooms, possibly 10 floors. Holy heck. Possibly medium or large. Unlocks at level 15. Okay. Progression. Several progression and equipment items have been adjusted based on community feedback. We were teased about this shortly after Ascension actually dropped. I think it was possibly around a few months after Ascension. They had given us the lowdown of everything that they were going to tweak with regards to the update, because the update was not perfect and the community feedback is always vital. So if you find that when an update drops, especially a major update, please leave your feedback and criticism on the Discord. The developers are listening. I promise you, they really are. Several player progression and equipment items have been adjusted based on community feedback, player leveling and rewards. The required XP to level from 1 to 100 has been reduced by around 10%, making leveling faster. Players can now level up to 9,999 for each prestige instead of 999, which was just one short of 1,000. Now it's one short of 10,000, so there's more levels to go. That is actually really cool. I like that. The required experience needed to level up between 999 and 9999 will increase every level. Sunny Meadows Restricted is now categorized as a medium location. I thought it always was. Increased rewards for correctly identifying the ghosts in medium and large locations. Medium from 125 to 150, large from 150 to 200. Great. Dots. Tier 1 dots light range has been increased. Thank you so much. Tier 3 scan effect can now be paused. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's the little things. EMF. The tier 1's needle will no longer flicker near or past the 5 value during events and hunts to stop confusion with evidence. Tier 3 EMF 5 reading will now play a unique sound. Beautiful. Firelight. Increase the visible light intensity and range for both Tier 1 and Tier 2. Tier 1 duration increased from 3 minutes to 5 minutes, yes. Tier 2 from 5 to 10. Firelight igniters will now be extinguished accurately in heavy rain. For example, they no longer... Okay, that makes sense. Headgear. A customizable key binding has been added to the controls page for turning on and off headgear. Love that. A lot of people were complaining about the holding down the T as the default button being problematic and not being able to adjust that. Small little adjustments. But like I said, they are listening. Turning headgear 1 on and off will now play a different sound to help know which state the equipment is in. Okay, that's perfect. While within range of a ghost event or hunting ghosts, tier 3 will now have visual interference. All tiers will now play a new sound. I like that. I am a firm believer in using the tier 2 headgear. I love it so much. So much. So this is very exciting. Parabolic microphone. Tier 1's red light will now flicker when a sound is indicated. Tier 2 and 3 sound indicator visuals will now last slightly longer than the sound to improve legibility with short sounds. Tier 3 can now receive sounds one floor above or below the player using it, with new UI to show which floor the sound is coming from. You can now hold parabolic microphones to turn them. Oh, okay. You now have to hold. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Thermometer. Okay, this is... I'm a little bit scared because I love the tier 1 thermo and I know they've changed it. Holding down the use button while holding the thermometer, tier 2 or 3 will now continuously update instead of having to restart. Okay, that's pretty neat. Tier 1 now has randomization to make it consistent with the other tiers. Okay. I saw that one coming. Tier 3 hold time has been reduced from 3.3 seconds to 2.5 seconds. Tier 3 randomization has been reduced to make it more accurate. Perfect. Chef's kiss. I remember bringing this up and there was a little bit of back and forth, but I am very grateful for the adjustments on the thermometer, and making it more consistent now is going to make it so much easier to use the tier 3. Tripods and video cameras. Ghost will now throw video cameras more consistently. Tripod 1 knockdown chance increase from 20 to 30%, and tier 2 increase from 10 to 20%. Sound sensors. Mute buttons have been... Oh, thank you so much. Simple little things. This is great because sometimes you don't always want to hear the ghost gurgle from the van. Spirit box. Small environment lights such as lamps must now also be turned off. Okay, so absolutely no light whatsoever. You must now hold the spirit box to use it with text-based voice recognition. Okay, I use the text-based voice recognition because sometimes with my accent being a little bit funny, it doesn't always recognize what I say, and I don't always like repeating myself, asking the same questions, so I love using the text-based. So this is something to keep in mind. UV lights tier 1 and 2 have been swapped for better progression during leveling. Cool. We've drastically improved the performance of several areas of the game, which will result in fewer stutters, higher FPS, and quicker loading times, especially on low-end machines. The number of fixes and optimizations would be too many to list, but the following have received the bigger adjustments. Photo and video cameras, shadows, the weather and sky effects, UI, physics, audio, reflections, textures and shaders are now streamed to the GPU to significantly reduce VRAM and RAM usage. Tent doors cloth system has been completely overhauled to increase performance. Training. Lower the temperature of training to make the freezing temperature section much faster to progress. Reduce the amount of equipment to 1 in each room. You now have to get EMF 5 to get past the EMF room. Props will now get thrown more frequently in the EMF room. Replace the glow stick with the UV torch as per the tier changes above. In the ghost orb section, players will now need to be more accurate with the video camera to avoid accidentally completing the objective without seeing the ghost orb. New ID badges can now be unlocked. Ooh. Lighthouse Keeper, correctly identify the ghost on point hope 50 times. Apocalypse Bronze, correctly identify the ghost, take a photo, complete all objectives on Sunny Meadows with a difficulty multiplier of 6 or higher. Apocalypse Silver, correctly identify the ghost, multiplier 10 or higher, and then multiplier with 15. For the gold badge, note, if you have already completed any of the Apocalypse challenges, you'll need to complete a single game of any kind to receive your new ID card rewards. Good to know. Players can now carry an igniter in addition to 3 other items. Sorry, my mind is blown. We can hold 4 stuff now. What? Okay. Note, non-VR players can only carry one igniter at a time, similar to flashlights. Igniters now have their own slot in the VR belt. When placing a tier 1 igniter in the slot, you won't be able to remove it again until all the matches have been drawn. Unlocking a new reward that is not tied to leveling up will now show a pop-up in the mission summary screen. Ghostwriting books can now play new sounds when closed. Okay. Added Kate and Catherine to possible first ghost names. Ghosts can now leave single fingerprints on a small lamp, and oh, that's so cool. Instead of like a whole hand on something that you can't really fit your whole hand on, ideally. Changes. Equipment. You can no longer swap inventory slots while taking a photo. Remove flashlights from hide and seek extreme as they were disabled from settings. Deja Vu Weekly now has UV tier 1 instead of tier 2 to keep it as a flashlight. Glow in the Dark Weekly now has tier 2 instead of tier 1 to keep it a glow stick. Asking the Ouija board bone location questions will now drain 20% sanity from 50% due to bone rewards not being included in the reward multiplier. Lighting the summoning circle candle will now instantly end the setup phase. Ghosts. Non-ghost writing ghosts now close the book after throwing it. How nice of them. Ghosts can no longer interact with already knocked down paintings. Shades can no longer blow out fire sources or write in ghost books if there are any players in the room to keep their strength consistent. Improved the ghost's ability to interact with closed doors. Improved Banshee AI targeting when they stalk a player. I wish to see the ghost will now limit your vision after the ghost event instead of before to allow you to see the ghost. I like this. Increase the sanity drain on one of the ghost events to match other events. Environment. Paranormal Paparazzi and Hide and Seek Hide weekly challenges now take place in Point Hope. Drastically improved the sunrise visuals. Turning on several light switches in a room, but not all, will allow sanity drain at a reduced rate instead of the full sanity drain speed. Props that don't move when hit with another prop will no longer play an additional impact sound. Adjusted all weathers distant fog color for better blending with the horizon. Remove Point Hope teasers from all maps and lobbies. Optimize assets across all maps. Lowered resolution for light cookies, flashlight, light shapes, etc., but increased resolution for skylight shadows. Move the green bowl in Edgefield living room to help with the lamp interaction and new fingerprints. The Tanglewood utility room door can now be closed correctly by the ghost. Medium tent windows now have correct collision on both sides. Audio. Adjusted audio effects to help identify if sounds are above or below you. Sounds that are one floor above are bass boosted and muffled. Sounds that are one floor below will be more muffled and quiet. Sounds that are 2 floors above you or below will now have more extreme effects and volume reduction. The heartbeat sound will no longer be altered by reverb or other audio effects. Audio levels for the ambience, room tone, and Ouija board have been remastered to bring them in line with other sounds. Reduce the volume for the writing book for Ghostwriting Book 3. It is very loud. You can hear it from like the other side of the map. It's amazing. I'm kind of sad they took that away, but it's fine. UI. Difficulty, money, and prestige level up pop-ups have received new images, improved color accuracy of several UI components, increased the width of the scroll bars in the shop to make it easier for VR players. Several ID card titles have been renamed and shortened. Change interaction amount to activity level in custom settings to better reflect what it does. Perfect. Fixes. Player movement will no longer be affected by held equipment. Beautiful. Stamina recovery will now correctly start even if you are still holding down the sprint button but not moving. There is no longer a visual glitch when rapidly equipping and unequipping the headgear as one of the player models, okay? You can now change your sprint mode while in a game in VR. Fix several areas where VR teleport movement could not teleport to. Changing your sprint mode to hold from toggle on PC while sprint is still toggled on will no longer keep you sprinting without pressing down the sprint button. Removed sprinting FOV increase due to graphical issue. Ghosts. Hanging paintings thrown by ghosts will no longer fall through the floor. The ghost and bone can no longer get stuck in several locations. Thank you. Urei can now use the ability on doors that are open at the start of the game. Something to keep in mind. Demon and Banshee attempting to use the ability but failing will no longer add to the ability's use. Perfect. Ghosts will no longer keep throwing the same object over and over, but instead choose more varied items within it. I actually sometimes find it really funny when the ghost picks on a particular mug or plate and it just keeps yoinking it forever. The annoying thing is that when you try and take a photo of the interaction, and the moment you take the photo, the ghost yoinks it again, and it's like, excuse me, I was busy with that. But okay. That's fine. Hide and Seek Extreme now correctly has 3 evidence instead of just 2. Ghost event player detection will no longer include dead players if they don't move after dying. Equipment. Motion sensor 2 and 3 detection sounds can now be heard on all floors. Parabolic mic 2 now displays the correct volume meters. You can no longer get readings on the paramic when in the truck. Dots 1 and UV lights 2 lights will no longer stop emitting when placed in some areas. Changing the sound sensor size in the truck now only changes the area of effect UI instead of the equipment UI. The paramic will no longer pick up sounds when in the truck. The EMF reader 1 will now point the needle closer to the EMF value instead of including the EMF values above and below it. You can no longer take multiple photos of the same EMF interaction by using your inventory to refresh the EMF spot. Headgear 2 will no longer be detected by the ghost when on if flashlights are disabled in custom settings. So I use the tier 2 headgear, so it doesn't get detected by the ghost if the flashlight setting is disabled in a custom game. An active paramic will no longer muffle your audio when picked up or while holding another item. All sound sensor tiers in Firelight tier 2 are now more stable when placed in VR. You can no longer light other people's incense. VR players can now consistently place a video camera on a tripod that is still attached to the trackball. The Ouija board will no longer break when saying goodbye with 0 sanity. Crucifix 3 will now be fully used for all players after it prevents a cursed hunt. Extinguished matches will no longer light other objects. You no longer need to swap hands between each tarot card draw in VR. Grabbing/swapping props or equipment in VR will no longer set the wrong hand position and rotation. Igniters can no longer be used if another player fully used up the fuel. Tripod 3 placement highlight is now visible when first placed. UI for the text recognition will no longer get stuck if another player grabs the Ouija board while you are using it. All motion and sound sensor map icons are now accurately sized on all maps. Environment. The player and ghosts will now correctly be detected when moving between different rooms and floors. This will make evidence gathering much more consistent. Sunny Meadows reverb sound effects will no longer turn off while moving around in certain rooms. Maple Lodge cabin window fingerprints will be visible again. Remove several locations where the ghost could get out of bounds in Sunny Meadows. Remove the spot where the ghost could get stuck behind the generator in Camp Woodwind. The camping chair next to the lover's bench on Woodwind is no longer white. All overhead tops on Maple Campsite now have rain sounds. The rain sounds are beautiful. Reduce visibility of geometry seams when you can see the skybox in Sunny Meadows. Keys collected will now have this correct name in the journal. Window rain will no longer make things black when viewed from certain angles. All Brownstone High School windows and doors now have the correct fingerprint material. You can no longer place equipment in the gap under the cabin. Lights will no longer turn on if you turn them off during a flicker. Added skybox blockers to multiple areas to stop tiny gaps in geometry that show the sky in Tanglewood, Edgefield, Ridgeview, and Willow. Oh, we've come to the end. Sound. Impact sounds will no longer play multiple times at once. Loop sounds on doors will no longer play in VR while they are not moving. UI. Skipping the animation when you level up more than once will no longer skip the previous levels, unlock pop-ups. challenge map names will now be correct. You can no longer complete the ghost photo objectives when there is no space for photos in the journal. Known issues. So these do not need reporting again. The urgent pathing can be inconsistent during hunts on Point Hope. Small items can occasionally fall through walls and floors in Point Hope. Interactions can sometimes repeat multiple times. MSAA will cause visual artifacts while dead. If you're experiencing any issues, please join the official Discord. The link is over there. And that's it. We got through the patch notes within 20 minutes or so. I will be releasing a first look through Point Hope very soon. I hope you enjoyed the patch notes and you're pretty excited for the update. I am too. Reading through this has got me pretty amped, and I can't wait to show you guys and get through the first experience with you all. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you soon.
Alright, we're here. Take a look at the equipment and prepare accordingly before starting the investigation. I've got nothing else to report, unfortunately.
timbers. Show me 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 timbers.
Taken in a shocking act of violence that occurred right here in the heart of our community. No information has been found about who or what may have ended this poor woman's life.
I was